What's up, guys? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. We've got a deck profile for you here this week. Something a little bit different. Definitely something I didn't think I was going to end up being too interested in playing. The only reason I ended up throwing this together was I opened 2 cases of Battle of Chaos. Ratios were terrible. Market price of everything is down really low, so I was going to be losing money anyway. So I figured I'll just sit on some of the stuff, see how the prices work out in the next couple months. And hopefully I can end up not at a loss reselling some of those singles. And I actually ended up only pulling a play set of the secret rares in this deck each versus like multiple play sets of everything else. So I figured, alright, well, I might as well just throw the deck together, see how it works, see if I like it, and it ended up being kind of interesting. I will say though, before we get started, this deck is like the, I don't know, beginner like training wheel version of it, I would say. There's new support coming out for it in Dimension Fusion? I want to say that's the next core set we got in like May or something. So there's another Fusion trap card and another Fusion monster that would change the way you're going to play the deck a little bit, but for now this is going to be kind of how I'm getting used to playing the cards in the deck, and then I'll be able to better decide what's going to get cut once we get there. So for monsters, I'll just put them all out here. 3 of each Dinomorphia and then the 1 miscellaneous Saurus. This is just kind of holding space right now. It's just to protect your Dinomorphia, mostly Theresia, from getting stopped, because the deck is domain or you're pretty much screwed. You got to get that domain so you can get your extra deck plays going. Outside of that, if you don't get domain, you're kind of just sitting on like stall cards essentially, just hoping to get 2 domains. So Theresia and Diplos, they're the only Dinomorphia main deck monsters at all for the foreseeable future, it would appear. So maxing out on both of them because they're the required material for the fusion monsters. Both of them on summon do something with traps in the deck. So Theresia on summon will set 1, so you're going to set your domain. Diplos on summon will send 1 to the graveyard, and that's important for 2 reasons. One, the main fusion monster in the extra deck right now banishes them to copy what they do, so you could just send a whatever. We can cover that when we get there, but probably like alert or alert late game, or like the thing that stops spell and traps. I think it's Sonic is the one that stops spells and traps, so that you have access to being able to copy it with the fusion. But more often than not, you want to be normal summoning Theresia. They also, on being destroyed, can special summon each other back. So if Diplos is destroyed, it can summon a Dinomorphia other than Diplos. So were we to get another one of these in the future, it would summon anything but itself and then anything but itself. So pretty simple there. And the reason that destroy the float effect on destruction matters is because a lot of the traps have a cost of being able to destroy one of your Dinomorphia monsters. For spells, we got 1 Called by the Grave, kind of the same reason as Miscellaneous Saurus. We want to avoid that Theresia getting stopped as much as possible. Triple Fossil Dig to search that Theresia and then search that domain, and then triple Pot of Duality. So Duality, I think, in this deck is better than Desires or Prosperity. Or I'm sorry, not Desires. Desires is at 1. Extravagance and Prosperity. It does pretty much the same thing, where you're just digging for stuff, but it has almost no cost to the deck, so you can't special summon, but you don't special summon on your turn anyway. You're going to be trying to set your back row so that you can do all your fusion and summoning on your opponent's turn. So you really don't incur any cost by playing this, which is way better than burning through your extra deck, which you need pretty much at full capacity for the deck to function. For traps, we've got triple domain. So this is currently like the #1 card you need to get on the field as soon as possible. Once we get Frenzy, that will also be a 3 of most likely, I would say. Triple Sonic, this is the one that can negate spell or trap, so this will be good. There's a lot of set 5 pass in this deck, more or less, and so Feather Duster pretty much ruins the whole game for you, so this will prevent you from getting dustered. Outside of that, I guess Twin Twisters could be a problem, or Cosmic Cyclone or whatever, but it does require you to pop one of your Dinomorphia monsters to use it. So you would, if this was already in your hand, you would summon Theresia to set this, then set this out of your hand, and then you can protect it were they to get a little bit wild, or just chain it, but whatever. Brute, this thing probably comes down to 2 at some point. It's kind of a, is it Raigeki break, where you pop a card your opponent controls, and then you pop one of your Dinomorphias. It's a pretty decent card. It's a little bit of spot removal, and it's searchable, as are all of these traps. But at 2, it would still be fine. Even this maybe at 2 would be okay. Alert, this is kind of Monster Reborn. I'll move it to a little bit better spot here. Special summons back 2 of your Dinomorphias that are under level 4 from your graveyard. So you're usually pulling back, Therezia and Diplos, or Diplos and Diplos, or Therezia and Therezia, if that's all you got. It's just gonna pull them back for like more fusion summoning, because you don't have one that banishes from the graveyard to fusion summon at this point. So you need them on the field in your deck, or in your hand, or in the extra deck come Dimension Fusion. And so you need this to kind of get those materials back to keep fusion summoning. The reason it's at 1 is because it can be copied with the fusion monster, just like the rest of these. And then 1 reversion. I play the 1 reversion just to copy. It copies a counter trap. So right now that's just Sonic. So it's just a 4th copy of Sonic at this point. It also, one of the second effect out of all of these. So if it's in your graveyard, the normal traps, so Domain, Brute, and Alert, can banish themselves, if you're under 2,000 life points, can banish themselves in order to prevent effect damage from being inflicted on you this turn. The counter traps, these 4, can prevent battle damage. So the 4th one is, I don't know, it's super necessary for copying this, because you already have a card that does it, but having the extra, like the ability to copy this and have an extra body that can go in the graveyard to prevent battle damage could be important. The reason that's important, and I haven't mentioned it at all up until this point for some reason, is to activate all these traps, you need to pay half your life points. So you want as low a life point total as possible, and we'll see why here when we get to the extra deck. But that also means that you could be like 1 cowboy away, or 1 like little ding away from losing. Like I've gotten myself down to less than 10 life points at times, so you need to be able to protect that as much as possible. So that's all the Dinomorphia traps. This thing's been super cool. MVP Ferret Flames. So what Ferret Flames does is whatever your life point total is, if your opponent has monsters whose attacks total higher than that, they have to shuffle monsters back until they get underneath your attack point total. So you, obviously turn 1, not super good. 8,000 life points is not going to be a high bar or a low bar to clear. But after turn 1, you should feasibly be able to get yourself down to 2,000 or fewer life points pretty easily. And I've had plenty of times where I'm able to flip this while I got 100 life points, and they got to shuffle their whole board back. So it's nasty, and it's free. It only matters that you've gotten your life points down to that certain point. Rivalry of Warlords. This could be like any Floodgate. This is just the one I'm playing for right now. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory, I guess. We got triple Torrential Tribute, so this pretty decent. I could see this going to 2 to make room for something else, but I do like having it, and the reason for that is because you're usually starting your play with 1 normal summon monster on board and then 5 back row. So if this is one of them, you can pass turn, you can Torrential on their summon to wipe the board, and then you can still Domain with stuff from your deck to make your big extra deck monsters and still have like a huge board. So if you time it well, Torrential can end up being a huge blowout card, so I like it. But a lot of this comes down to like, what traps do you like? What do you find most useful against your meta in your area? So we got triple Crackdown and triple Solemn Judgment. So Judgment has got some high synergy with the paying the half the life points thing. Get your life points down as low as possible, and it's just a really powerful card. Crackdown's an easy side out, so the only reason it's in here now is because, what else do you play? I've messed around with, oh man, what's the name of the card? I can't think of it. It's the one where you discard to banish something on your opponent's side of the field, the trap card, Karma Cut. But I didn't like it as much because a lot of times you're setting your deck all in the back row and you don't have a lot of expendable resources in your hand usually. So I played this just because you do go into rank 4s and level 4 monsters are fairly common, but if you're playing against a deck that doesn't run level 4s, easy side out, or even just cut this and play something else, For the extra deck, I am missing one card right now. The only reason for that is because I don't know that it's worth buying it if I end up not playing it at all, but I'll explain it when I get to it. So we play 3 of each of the fusions right now, and it'll probably be 3 of the Tyrannosaurus Rex guy also when we get that far. Usually what I'm trying to do I guess it's turn 2, but turn 1.5, like, so you set your board past turn and then you're going to do your summoning of these guys. I want 1 of each is usually what I'm going for. So this one, you can pay half your life points to copy any of your traps, banish a trap and copy it. Its attack is currently 4,000. The only reason that I'm bringing that up is because its attack is decreased by your life points. So if you have 4,000 or more life points, this thing's attack is 0. Usually not a problem because Domain's going to get you to 4, then you'll summon this, then I'll probably end up copying Domain to summon this, get down to 2,000, so it's at 2,000 attack, and then you have this guy on board. What this does is it makes it so you don't have to pay for your trap cards in order to activate them anymore if you're at 2,000 or less life points. That kind of comes in handy, but nothing costs a solid amount. Meaning, like, it's not strike where you're required to pay a certain amount. It's always half, so it's always doable, I guess, technically. But it can come in handy if you're trying to stall out for a little bit and you don't want to be sitting at 100 life points or whatever. The big thing I like about this card is when your opponent activates an effect, you can burn them for the attack points of the monster that activated their effect. So if they summon something big, try to activate it, you can burn them for 3,000, 4,000, like huge damage for nothing. Both of them, when they're destroyed, can special summon back one of the level 4 extra deck monsters, so they got some floating ability in there. Then for our rank 4s, I got 2 Lagia. This will easily go to 1. Never really summon more than 1. It's just 2 because there's not much else to play right now. Dolka, probably keep this at 1 also. The 1 Dweller. And then this package here, I'm not sure that I'm sold on this all the way yet, but this is where the card is missing. So we got Utopia, 2 Utopia, a C39 Utopia Ray, an S39 Utopia Lightning, and then the 15th card would be Utopia Prime, just because it's some monster removal as well as it pulls your life points down to 10, which would make, you know, this thing 3,990 attack, so it's a huge beater. This is just a ton of extra deck space being taken up here just for that cutesy little play. This thing, I guess, is alright because you can bump them to 5k and swing for big damage, but you already have this thing that can get to about 4,000, and really once you're above 3k, you're in the zone of being like the bigger monsters that are ever going to be summoned, right? So I don't know that you need the damage output. The monster removal on Prime is pretty cool, but I also don't know, like, you could just cut, you know, these, play the Prime, and then you have a little room for other stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I'll mess around with it a little bit more. You could fit in other stuff like the Tornado Dragon, Exciton Knight, like other staple rank 4s that are typically played might be better than just playing this Utopia package, but I left it in here because it's unique, it's different, you know. There's never been a reason for me to play this thing before, but I've had it for so long, so had to throw it in there for at least 1 deck profile, right? But that'll wrap it up for this Dinomorphia deck profile. We'll do an update when we get those new cards in Dimension Fusion. I don't know if I'm even saying that right. The new set, the next core set, right? Yeah, so we'll do an update when we get that far. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for checking this out. If you got any suggestions for how you play the deck or how you think I could play the deck better or interesting tech cards or whatever, leave it in the comments below. Let's have a discussion. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you guys in the next video.